Hey folks, welcome underneath the van. Today I'm looking at the exhaust system. So one of the first mods that people do to these engines to make them a little more powerful is put a custom intake and an exhaust system on. This van, the previous owner, took the exhaust system and upsized it to 4-inch and put this massive exhaust tip on. It's like 7 inches across. There is no muffler, and that has been a bit of a problem. I'm not looking for a ton of power, and I'm not towing. I just want an engine that'll last for a long time and be reliable. So I don't need to worry too much about my exhaust gas temperatures, and I don't need to worry about my horsepower. So I'm going to put a muffler back on. Now what I'm looking at is a Diamond Eye 51-inch, 4-inch straight through big dog muffler. This thing is massive. So taking a look at this exhaust, like I said, big pipe, 4-inch, and down here it ties into that tip. Should be a pretty straightforward pull and swap. Now I will have to cut this up here if that's not the exact distance of that muffler. Looks like it's about 47 inches on this pipe, so maybe I'll get lucky, maybe it'll fit. Maybe not. Otherwise I'll have to cut it back here a little bit. Looking this way, this is looking straight up, I've got plenty of room around for that muffler. We've got 3 inches to the side, and looking above, I've got a good 6-7 inches above. So it should be no trouble fitting that muffler on. It'd be nice if I could move this hanger over a little bit because it is affecting the shock. Look here. This exhaust tip is actually touching the shock, and it's either worn through or been beaten in to fit when I replace the shocks. I'd like to not have that be an issue. So if you have any thoughts on how I could move that over, let me know. Ready to install that Diamond Eye muffler, and I want to get some baseline numbers on how loud the van is. As you can tell, it's pretty loud in here. Carpeting the floor and putting in insulation quieted it down a lot, but I just want to see before we put the muffler on what the baseline is. So I've got a decibel meter going here, and you can see at highway speed 65 miles an hour we're running about 75 decibels. If I let off the gas and coast, we run around 70 decibels. When I punch the gas, it gets loud. Up to mid-80s. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that muffler does. Let's see how it sounds outside the van, starting the engine and revving it without the muffler. Here's another angle. Doorbell just rang. Look what's here. is a big muffler. The muffler is directional. This side is domed. That's the outlet. And this side has a lip, and that's the inlet. Checking fit on the muffler. Looks like it should drop right in. So now I just have to release these hangers and pull this section of straight pipe out. Gonna need the breaker bar.
Turns out removing the old straight pipe was no easy task. It took me most of the afternoon to loosen the old U-bolts, cut the ones that wouldn't break free, and remove the tip so I could remove the whole assembly.
I got the exhaust disconnected from up here. I got the old exhaust out with some judicious use of a sledgehammer and an angle grinder. I only cut the U-bolts, nothing important. Now I need to figure out how to fit this in there. When I removed the old straight pipe, I had to beat on it pretty hard, and I damaged these flanges a little bit, and I couldn't get the smaller front section to come off. So I was going to need to replace this section anyways, and looking at the cost on a 30-inch 4-inch exhaust pipe, it was not that much more to just pick up a resonator. So I got this Upower resonator that's 30-inch. That's going to go straight on. It'll butt joint against the new muffler. And so the new system will look like this. Test fitting the new resonator, and it's pretty much perfect. So I'm trying to figure out what the best way to connect these two pipes is. I don't have a whole lot of space. I might actually have to cut this one down a little bit because I think this amount of space is all that I have. So I can't really add a whole lot of distance here. Now I've got a butt clamp that will join these two. Problem is that butt clamp's only 3 inches long, and so it's gonna leave this opening. So I'm concerned that that's gonna cause an exhaust leak. So I'd like to get something that seals over this and doesn't let that sit open. So I picked up this Walker piece, 41987. Now this will slide right in to both of these. And then I can join this up. And if I cut that down, I can put the butt clamp right over the whole thing, and that might give me a good seal. I think the only way I'm going to be able to tell is by putting these in and seeing what works. So I got this Evil Energy butt clamp that's going to go over here, and that'll slide right on like so. And then what I need to do is I need to make sure that this distance here is combined with that distance there is the same. So I got to cut these flanges down. Also on the other end, this hole overlaps my exhaust, and I can't run the resonator forward because it'll hit the frame. I need this one to cover those holes when it's right there. So I've got to take about ½ an inch off of this. So I've got the muffler all done. I'm going to take you under the van and show you how it went. Okay, starting up front, we've got the resonator clamped on. When I trimmed down the resonator, that reducer clamp from 4-inch outside to 4-inch inside went great. That's all tight and sealed. Resonator fit pretty well. I'm not totally happy with how this hanger is sitting. The resonator is in fact a little long, and so as you can see, that hanger is sitting back and it's pulling things over pretty far this way to where the muffler is almost touching the frame. So I'm not too happy with that, and I may change something with how that hanger is situated in the future. The muffler itself, sitting pretty good. I showed you where it's sitting close to the frame. On the other side, it's doing great. Coming down. Now here at the tail end, I had to make some modifications. You may recall that hanger was on this side of the frame rail, and I moved it. So I had to remove that and pop it back to the back side, and that actually made it so that the muffler sits much better. We're no longer touching the shock, so that's good. As far as moving this hanger, I was able to just spin it around and reuse one of the bolts on it, and the second one, I've just used this hole for the heat shield, and so now that goes through the hanger as well. So that's holding things good and tight. I feel pretty good about it. As long as it doesn't vibrate itself towards the passenger side of the van, we should have no problems. After driving around a bit, the muffler is definitely touching the frame, so I'm going to move this hanger out by disconnecting it here and putting a couple of pieces of 1/4-inch steel in between as spacers. So I'll hopefully move it out 1/2 inch and push this away. I've got the hanger off here, and I cut these 2 spacers. I'm just going to drill these, and we'll stick those inside the frame like that. Should give us about 1/2 inch of extra space for the muffler. Okay, I got everything adjusted and tightened up. The tolerances are very tight. We're very close to the frame there, and we're pretty close here. But I've got this to where it is tight and I can't move it at all, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. My spacers seem to be helping, but the issue is that this rubber can slide here, and so I think to actually push this out, I need to adjust this somehow, and so I'll have to think about that over time. These clamps are not the tightest. I've got these as tight as they will go. I actually started around the nut here, and it still wants to slide a little bit, so I'm not super impressed with these clamps. I think welding is probably the better solution long term, but I think we've got this set to drive for a while, and I'll recheck it in a couple of days and see how it's doing. All in all, it wasn't too bad. It was a little frustrating yesterday trying to fit everything together. That's why I didn't film actually putting it in place. I think the fit would have been better if I had used a piece of 4-inch pipe instead of a resonator. I was just hoping to keep things as quiet as possible, and so we'll see. I may have to swap that out if things vibrate around and we start touching the frame. So the last thing to do is fire it up and see how it sounds. Let's try that again now that the engine's warmed up. driving with the new exhaust system in place. This is at idle. We're running 60 decibels. It seems the sound has just really changed. Instead of hearing engine noise out of the back, now all I hear is injectors. The engine's still really quite loud. I think maybe sealing off the doghouse better would fix that, but we'll see. We'll get up on the highway here and get it to speed and see how it does. Okay, here we go. I'm going to push it. That's about 8 decibels quieter than it was before. There you have it. Complete Diamond Eye 51-inch Big Dog 4-inch muffler and Upower Resonator installation on a Ford E350. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the result. It's definitely gotten a couple decibels quieter. The van still has a lot of road noise, and the injectors are still really loud. I'm hoping a little bit of fuel treatment will quiet those down. The van is still a big tin box in the back, and it's just loud on the highway, so that's something for me to tackle in a future project. But in the meantime, if you found this helpful, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. It definitely helps make it worth my while to keep producing these videos. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.